Let's begin.
Yes, I'm ready.
The CEO was on the verge of a meltdown. Millions of dollars were at stake, and everything was about to collapse. No one knew who could fix it, even if it could be fixed. But sometimes, the most overlooked person becomes the unexpected hero. Today, that person would step forward, completely unprepared for the spotlight, yet ready to change everything. Before we dive into this incredible story, drop a comment below with your city or country. Let's see how far this story travels. And if you like it, subscribe now because you won't believe what happens next. Sweat dripped down the CEO's forehead as he stared at the boardroom filled with international investors. None of them spoke English, and all eyes were on him, waiting. He gripped the edge of the polished table, heart racing, as his mind raced through every possible disaster scenario. The translator they had flown in, someone who had promised flawless communication, had cancelled at the very last minute. Minutes were slipping away, and the deal, worth millions, was on the verge of collapse. Phones rang endlessly, assistants rushed in and out, and the CEO's thoughts spun faster than ever. Panic clawed at him. The investors waited silently, confused and increasingly impatient. Each second felt like an eternity. Every glance and pause magnified the tension in the room. The CEO's normally calm composure had vanished. He was out of options and out of time. Then someone hesitantly spoke from the back of the room. "What about the janitor's daughter?" Laughter erupted immediately. Could a teenage girl really save a multi-million-dollar deal? The executives shook their heads in disbelief, muttering jokes under their breath. Yet, despite the initial mockery, the suggestion planted a seed of curiosity. Could it actually work? Eyes darted toward the hallway, unsure whether to follow through with such an unconventional idea. Skepticism filled the room like thick fog, but desperation made people consider the impossible. All at once, the boardroom tension shifted. Maybe, just maybe, the overlooked teenage girl could be their only chance. Danielle was 17, a strata student with a quiet confidence and an extraordinary gift for languages. Every day, after school, she waited in the lobby of the corporate skyscraper where her father, Mr. Roberts, had worked as a janitor for over a decade. To the executives, she was invisible, a fleeting presence among designer suits and gleaming glass walls. They never noticed the way she carried herself, the way she quietly absorbed everything happening around her. But Danielle had a secret. She had taught herself Mandarin, French, and Spanish just for fun, translating letters, bills, and forms for neighbors and her father's co-workers. She could switch seamlessly between languages, understanding cultural nuances and meaning beyond words. She had spent years quietly honing a skill that no one had recognized. While the boardroom above buzzed with panic, Danielle solved math problems at her table. Completely unaware that fate was about to call her into action. She was prepared for this moment, but would anyone upstairs know? That was the question. Danielle sat at a small lobby table, pencil moving swiftly across her notebook. Her backpack rested beside her, textbooks open, completely absorbed in her homework. Upstairs, chaos reigned. Phones rang incessantly, the CEO barked into his headset, and investors shifted impatiently in their seats. Every passing second threatened to sink the multi-million-dollar deal. The translator's absence was a disaster in motion. Minutes felt like hours as tension mounted. The assistants scurried between floors, faces pale with worry. The investors exchanged quiet, confused glances, waiting for communication that would never come. Each heartbeat echoed the urgency of the moment. And yet, Danielle remained calm, unaware that her life was about to change in an instant. One moment, she was just a teenager completing homework. The next, she would walk into a room full of powerful adults, their eyes fixed on her, expecting the impossible. Finally, an assistant darted down the hallway. "Danielle?" she called urgently. The girl looked up, startled, clutching her pencil. "They want me to do what?" she whispered. A mix of fear and curiosity crossed her face. Her father stood nearby, pride and anxiety battling in his eyes. "You can do this," he said softly. Executives watched from above, skepticism clear on every face. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Yet the urgency left no other choice. Danielle rose from her chair, heart pounding. She adjusted her backpack and stepped forward. She was walking into the storm, and no one could predict what would happen next. Danielle took a deep breath and stepped into the boardroom. The air was thick with tension, every eye fixed on her. Executives and investors turned in unison, skepticism written across their faces. Could this teenager really speak the languages needed to save millions? The CEO swallowed hard and finally asked, "Can you translate?" Danielle met his gaze and nodded confidently, her voice steady. The silence that followed was almost deafening. Heartbeats echoed in the quiet room. Investors exchanged curious glances, whispering among themselves, testing her confidence. Each step Danielle took toward the center of the table seemed to stretch time itself. Could she actually handle this immense responsibility? Every person in the room waited, breaths held, as if the next words she spoke could determine the fate of the deal and perhaps their entire careers. The tension was palpable, like electricity before a storm, and all eyes remained glued to her. Danielle began speaking, her voice clear and precise. She translated every question, every concern, and every condition from the investors, carefully choosing words that conveyed the exact meaning. The investors leaned forward, eyebrows raised, surprised at the teenager's skill. Some nodded approvingly, others whispered among themselves in astonishment. Slowly, the energy in the room shifted. Confusion and tension faded, replaced by understanding and engagement. The CEO watched in disbelief. He had never imagined someone so young could command such authority and precision. As Danielle continued, the flow of the conversation became smooth, almost natural. She interpreted terms, clarified expectations, and addressed concerns with remarkable accuracy. Investors responded positively, adjusting their positions, asking follow-up questions, and smiling at her translations. With every word, the deal began to resurrect itself. Minutes felt like hours, yet the chaos turned into harmony. By the end of the meeting, the investors were satisfied, and the CEO realized that millions of dollars were once again secure. Danielle had not just translated, she had saved the deal, proving that talent and courage could emerge from the most unexpected places. When the final words were translated, the room erupted in applause. Investors clapped enthusiastically, some standing to show their respect. The lead investor personally thanked Danielle in Mandarin, and she responded effortlessly, earning a respectful bow in return. The CEO remained stunned, staring as if he had seen a ghost. Minutes ago, he had been ready to cancel the meeting entirely. Now, he realized that the person he had dismissed as just a janitor's daughter had single-handedly rescued a contract worth millions. Executives who had mocked her earlier now looked on in awe. Their assumptions shattered. The room was filled with disbelief and admiration. Danielle's quiet confidence and skill had turned skepticism into respect. This moment marked not only her triumph, but also a profound lesson. Brilliance can come from anywhere, and it often hides in the most overlooked corners. Everyone in the room knew they had witnessed something extraordinary. Danielle walked out quietly, leaving a stunned boardroom behind her. The CEO turned to his team and said words no one expected. "Find her and offer her an internship before someone else does." The executives nodded, still processing the incredible display of skill and courage they had just witnessed. Danielle later received a full scholarship to a top university, where she pursued international business and linguistics. Using her talents to bridge cultures and opportunities, the company, inspired and humbled, created a diversity mentorship program in her name. They recognized that hidden talent often goes unnoticed, that brilliance doesn't announce itself, and that opportunity can unlock greatness in unexpected people. Danielle's story reminded everyone that assumptions can blind even the most experienced professionals. Sometimes, all it takes is one underestimated person, one overlooked voice, to transform a situation and leave a lasting impact. Danielle's story is a powerful reminder. How many talented people have we overlooked simply because we judged by appearances or assumptions? Brilliance doesn't always wear a uniform, and leadership can emerge from unexpected places. Even the smallest voice, when given a chance, can change the game completely. Think about your own surroundings. Are there Danillis you've ignored or underestimated? Share your thoughts in the comments and tell us the city or country you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe and share this story. Because everyone deserves the chance to be seen, and every overlooked talent could be a game changer.